buffoon, ashamed of themselves, embarrassment. I think that woman needs to look in a blimmin' mirror. Maybe Lord Ali can afford to buy her one. Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast that you could listen to in the world, has been really making a big noise about what he sees as authoritarian rule in the UK. Add to that these extremely sort of toxic... This isn't the first time in recent months that senior figures who are now, in America, who are going to be part of the Trump administration, have been looking at what's going on in Britain, whether it's talking about the clampdown on free speech. Elon Musk has gone to town on that one.
Trump just slapped tariffs on British steel after Angela Rayner called him macho in an interview. The economic impact, devastating for UK manufacturing regions that were already struggling under Labour's leadership. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you. Keir Starmer was praising Trump to his face at the White House while his deputy was busy insulting him.
Says it all. But I'm pretty sure that the Trump machinery, or people who are now going to be occupying important positions in the White House, might kind of be looking at Britain with a slightly different view.
And as you say, Alex, I think the video that's been doing the rounds this week is about a video from 2020 when Angela Rayner wasn't in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet, she was in Keir Starmer's shadow. He was telling me that, people will remember those comments. Those comments, are not harmless. People will remember them in the machinery. And of course, when we have the leaders appearing on the world stage, it's very likely, for instance, that members of the international press or members of the international community may well bring up those comments once again.
The political hypocrisy exposed in this video reveals exactly why Britain's international standing is now in free fall. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. JD Vance's role in this political debacle cannot be understated. While Angela Rayner's macho comments about Trump initially seemed like just another day in British politics.
They were in the shadow cabinet, though. They weren't just, odds and sods on the back benches. And now they're in government. They're like, it doesn't matter. We're making the calls. We're having great diplomatic relations. James, it's funny, isn't it? They act like a load of pathetic, sixth-form debating society leftists when they're in opposition. I kind of think with someone like Donald Trump, he'll be like, yeah, whatever. I don't think that man actually bears a grudge. The fact that JD Vance is his running mate.
Vance appears to have strategically brought these remarks to Trump's attention, knowing exactly what buttons to push. The timing was impeccable. Just as trade negotiations were reaching a critical phase, Vance ensured Trump heard the unflattering characterization from a high-ranking British official. What's particularly striking is how quickly the political landscape shifted once Trump became aware of Rayner's commentary. The former president, known for his sensitivity to personal criticism, responded not with tweets or verbal jabs, but with calculated economic pressure points. The new tariffs he introduced weren't random. They specifically targeted industries in Labour strongholds, creating maximum political pressure on Starmer's government.
He's an absolute buffoon. He has no place in the White House. He's an embarrassment, and he should be ashamed of himself. Donald Trump is killing, thousands of Americans by giving them duff advice, and he's macho, I'm all right, look at me, I've survived COVID.
While demonstrating that international diplomacy requires more finesse than Rayner apparently possesses. The fallout has been devastating for British workers in manufacturing regions like the West Midlands and Yorkshire. Economic analysts project upwards of 5,000 job losses in the first wave alone, with several factories already announcing potential closures. This isn't just political theatre. It's having real consequences for families who suddenly find their livelihoods caught in the crossfire of diplomatic incompetence. When confronted with these economic projections, Rayner's demeanour changed dramatically. Gone was the confident deputy who boldly criticised Trump on television. Instead, viewers witnessed a politician desperately attempting to downplay her previous statements.
Well, I think you've also got to remember that you do aspire in politics to go into government. That's why you stand for election to Parliament. That's why you're campaigning as a member of the Labour Party. It is very short-sighted to make these kind of comments about a major world leader.
Irresponsible, reckless and unprofessional comments. I don't care whether it's coming from someone on the opposition benches and what position they held or didn't hold. It's just not becoming of an elected member.
But I think it's interesting what it means for other people around him and his team, particularly when it comes to some of those intelligence and sensitive matters, because obviously with the defence apparatus between the two countries.
Suggesting they were taken out of context and insisting she was merely speaking candidly about legitimate concerns. The backpedalling was transparent and ineffective. Behind closed doors, the Labour Party is in disarray. Sources close to the party reveal growing frustration with Rayner's unfiltered approach, while publicly, colleagues defend her right to express opinions. Privately, they question her judgment at a time when international relationships are particularly fragile post-Brexit. The UK's desperate need for favourable trade terms makes these diplomatic missteps all the more costly. The relationship between the UK and US now stands on shaky ground, with transparency and consistency sorely lacking in Britain's approach. This crisis has exposed fundamental weaknesses in Labour's foreign policy strategy, raising serious questions about the party's ability to navigate complex international relationships. The political theatre being staged by Labour reveals a stunning level of duplicity. While Rayner was busy making inflammatory comments about Trump on television, Keir Starmer was engaged in an entirely different performance at the White House. His approach: smile, nod, and praise Trump's positions, particularly on free speech, while his party simultaneously undermined those very same positions back home. During his White House visit, Starmer openly praised Trump's stance on free speech, painting himself as an ally and supporter. This wasn't just casual conversation, it was a calculated attempt to curry favour. Yet the moment Starmer returned to British soil, this facade crumbled. The Labour Party continued to oppose policies and viewpoints associated with Trump, revealing the empty nature of Starmer's White House flattery. Trump, no stranger to political manoeuvring, immediately recognised this double dealing. Sources close to the administration confirmed that Trump and his team quickly identified the disconnect between Starmer's face-to-face pleasantries and the Labour Party's actual positions. This recognition didn't merely frustrate Trump, it fueled his retaliatory response, adding another layer to the damaging tariffs already impacting British industry. The inconsistency extended beyond mere policy disagreements. Starmer's public statements about free speech during his Trump meeting stood in direct contradiction to his actions in the UK. How can a leader genuinely support free expression abroad while implementing restrictive policies at home? This hypocrisy didn't just damage Starmer's personal credibility, it undermined Britain's entire diplomatic standing. Perhaps most telling is how this approach alienated Labour's own supporters. Voters who valued the party's supposed commitment to honesty found themselves questioning Starmer's leadership. The result was a political leader caught between appeasing international relations and maintaining his domestic message, ultimately succeeding at neither. Behind the scenes, Nigel Farage appears to have been pulling strings that further complicated this diplomatic disaster. Reports indicate Farage facilitated conversations between David Lammy and JD Vance, potentially colouring Trump's perception of the current UK government. With Farage whispering in Trump's ear, Labour's already precarious position became even more vulnerable. Labour's strategy, attempting to criticise Trump while maintaining diplomatic ties, has spectacularly backfired. Their approach of excessive politeness mixed with behind-the-scenes criticism created a messy, inconsistent narrative that Trump easily saw through. Britain now presents itself on the world stage not as a principled partner, but as a duplicitous actor, unable to maintain a consistent position. So here we stand at a critical juncture for Britain's international standing. The path to repairing this fractured relationship with Trump's administration isn't complicated. It requires transparency and consistency, qualities sorely lacking in Labour's approach. This isn't merely political theatre, it's a direct threat to British livelihoods. The solution is straightforward: end the mixed messaging and double dealing. Trump values loyalty and straightforwardness above all else. Our leaders must demonstrate unwavering commitment to their principles, ensuring actions align with words. The British public deserves leadership that speaks with one clear voice on the world stage, not this dangerous diplomatic chaos that threatens our economic future.